When you started your business, it was just you.
It was just
Share,
me. Yeah.
yeah. How did that
So
be? How did that start?
it was an accidental business. I had no intention of building a business.
So you hadn't started with wanting to start your own business.
Oh, no, 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 not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, and I'll just go back to the beginning. So I came to Nashville, Tennessee to go to Vanderbilt, um,
Okay.
and went to grad school for computer science. Total techie, graduated and got a job in Nashville as a software engineer. Now, a caveat here, I say Nashville, and you may have an image of what Nashville is today, but the Nashville then was not the Nashville that it is today.
Definitely.
Think Hall, Nashville, when I got out of grad school, and the it city Nashville of today. They're worlds apart. And so that's the environment I was in. And so I got a job with a startup. I bounced around several different places as a software engineer. My last job that I had was with a medical company, and I was the head of their IT department. It was a small
Okay.
company, but I was the head of the IT department, and I did a lot of development of their software, billing software. So what happened is that, unbeknownst to people who worked there, the owners were pitching the business to sell it.
Oh,
We were called into the conference room on a Wednesday, and the owner said, "We got some news. We have sold the business. We're shutting down the Nashville office, which was the home office, on Friday." And I was thinking Friday of like next month. No, it was Friday, the day after
48
tomorrow.
hours.
And they were so kind. They said, and this will kind of tell you the era that we were in, you're welcome to use the fax machine in the copy room to fax your resumes for the next 2 days. So that was very kind.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
it was a shock to my system. I've been out of school for about 5 years. I had a tech degree, I had a master's degree in computer science. I'm living in Hee Haw, Nashville, thinking, what now? What now? Incidentally, I had just purchased my first house. Okay, so I had a house payment, had a mortgage. And so I had never been out of a job. I had started working really since I was a freshman in college,
Okay.
worked through the summers, worked all the time. So I'm like, okay, what do I do now? The first time in my life that I really had absolutely no direction. And so I took that time to kind of do some introspection and, what should I be
Right.
doing? Maybe it's time to move from Nashville. Maybe it's time to put some resumes out in other locations, more tech savvy towns and so forth. And so I did that. I sent resumes everywhere. I had some interviews, I had some callbacks for interviews, and every door slammed in my face. It was unbelievable. I felt like I
Hmm.
was very well qualified. I had a good educational background. I had good work experience by that time, but
Right.
nobody was hiring or they didn't want to hire me.
Right.
And so, quite honestly, I spent a lot of time in prayer. And really, what I would do is in the mornings, I would send out resumes, answer calls, and follow up. In the afternoon, I would go out and stain the deck and pray and
Okay.
say, okay, God, what next? What is it
Hmm.
time to move? Show me. I'm willing. I had a
Right.
job lead in Dallas that I thought, okay, this Dallas, yes, that's probably what it's going to
Okay.
be. It's time to move. Door slammed in my face. There's a big company here in Nashville that they were hiring. And I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. Went for the interview, thought I did great. No, we don't want you. I had enough money to live off of for 4 weeks.
Okay.
I had 4 weeks worth of money. And then I would have to probably, I think at that time, I may have had a little bit of a
Retirement
retirement
or
account
yeah.
set up by one of the companies, not much in
Right.
it at all,
Of
but I'd have
course.
to see about
Yeah.
getting that in. A friend of mine that I had worked with previous called me up and wanted to know if I'd found anything. He was trying to find things as well for me. He had a job, thankfully. And he said, I heard about a law firm in downtown Nashville that they have a program, a billing program, software application that is written in the language that I knew very well that I had written this whole system for this medical company in.
Okay.
Says, who knows, maybe they need some help. I've heard that they have this application, custom built application. At that time, you could actually get the source code of software that you would use
Right.
in these businesses. And so, anyway, I looked them up, I don't remember if I sent a resume or a letter. I don't really
Right.
remember. Well, I got a
Right.
call back.
Oh,
said, yeah, can you come in? Mr. So-and-so would like to speak with you. Sure. Another
what else?
interview. And so I go in thinking that they're going to offer a job. But the lawyer, and I did not know at the time, I didn't know this guy at all, but he happened to be one of the most prominent attorneys in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Did not know that. If I'd
Okay.
known that, I'd been scared to death. But I was just
Sure.
like, okay, another interview. I go into his office and he had a list of things he had printed out. And he said, here are the things that we need done right now. Can you do these? And I looked and I was like, yeah, sure. It's all tech stuff. Is set up printers, just tech stuff on their network. And it was a shop that had, I don't know, 40 or 50 people, maybe 60 people in that particular firm. And I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. He goes, okay, write me a contract, send it to me, and we'll go from there. And
Oh,
I acted like I knew what he was talking about, but I had no idea. I didn't know what a contract was. I had no
okay.
idea. So I left there, say, oh, sure, yeah, whatever. One point I'd like to make for people that are starting out trying to start a business
Right.
or have an entrepreneurial bent and you feel like, hey, I want to start something. You're never going to feel like, oh, I'm ready to do it. I've got all the answers. I can do it. I had zero answers. I had no idea how I was going to get this guy a contract. I knew I could probably do the things on the list. There was a couple of things I wasn't sure, but I could probably figure. I'm good tech. I can figure it
Yeah,
out.
of course.
But I had no idea the business end of it. Had no idea. But you gotta jump off and just give it a try. And so you know what I did, Kemp?
And what?
On the way home, I stopped by the public library and checked out a book on writing contracts.
Okay.
Got home and basically looked at that book and wrote my first contract ever that I am writing for one of the most prominent law firms in Nashville, Tennessee,
Okay. Off of a library book.
off of a library book.
There's no World Wide Web to with that kind of value on it.
Not, no. And so I was still on dial up at that time, a dial up internet. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, here goes. Who knows? It says, well, you put what your hourly rate is. I'd never billed
Right.
my time hourly. I had no
Of
idea.
course.
What am I
Right.
worth? At that
Right.
point in time, I would have worked for $5 an hour, but I put something down there and I sent it in. And I get a call the next day from the secretary and said, come on in Monday, you got the job.
Wow.
Now, I did not know it. Once I finished the things on that list, there's probably a dozen and a half things on the list. Once I finished that, my job is over. So I'm like,
Oh,
thank you, Jesus. This is going
right.
to pay my utility bill until I find my real job. So I went in Monday and I started working at that law firm and keeping up with my time. Did a timesheet and create bills, all this just by hand.
Okay.
And
All off the library book, or how did
yes,
you know? Okay.
yes, basically that book on how to be a contractor. Absolutely.
Right.
And so that law firm, believe it or not, that I didn't even know that I was starting my business, but I was starting a business, remained my client for 26 years.
Wow. Wow.
And that law firm also, and I'll get into this later, we're not going to cover
Sure.
this right now, but that law firm was my entree to the largest project my company had ever seen and propelled us to a level that led to me actually ultimately selling the company.
Wow.
It started with an improbable call to interview with this guy. Can you do these things? Write me a contract. I don't know what a contract is, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I
Sure.
did it. And that was the
Wow.
start of my business. That was the beginning of something great that gave not only me a career, but it gave many other people that I hired along the way a career just because I wasn't afraid to jump off, do that contract, say, I'm going to do it. I don't know what the next week's going to be after I finish doing all these things. But that was the start of the business.
Wow. So they gave you about a week's worth of work
Yeah, I'd say
originally,
about a week. Yeah.
give or take.
Now, it was fortuitous. Okay. So I will tell you, this was, mid 90s in Nashville, Tennessee. And at that point in time, believe it or not, most law firms did not have internet or email. That is hard for people to believe now. But in our
Definitely.
lifetime, there was a time
Yeah.
when businesses did not have, or you would have internet, but it would be like dial up. Individual computers would have AOL or CompuServe or one of those
Sure.
services. And so things were beginning to awaken in the tech world. My one contract was with the law firm, and I had no intention of building a consulting firm, a legal consulting firm, meaning doing legal tech stuff for a law firm.
Right.
But that became my business. I'll talk more about that,
Yeah.
later on, about finding
Want to
your
hear about it.
niche and being really good at it and finding a way to distinguish yourself from the competition. That was not in my head at all. I'm
Right.
just like, I want to get some money to pay the bills and then I'll find a real job. That
Sure.
was my mindset at that point in time. But nonetheless, I wanted to do a good job for these people because gulp, I was charging them way more money than I thought I was worth. It
Okay.
wasn't a lot of money, but it was more money
Right.
than I thought I was worth. But
Right.
that was the start of my business.
Okay. How did you come up with the figure? Well, I want to ask because anybody who freelances, who contracts, it's like, what's the number? What am I worth? And now, of course, it's a lot easier with the World Wide Web and so on. But how did I? Not that you even remember the figure, probably, but how do you come up with that and say this company or this job is worth X?
Yeah.
And then that means sometimes you lose jobs
Mm.
because you're like, oh, maybe I was overcharging, when you
Absolutely.
really needed it, and so on.
I honestly don't remember precisely, but what I do remember was this book that I got, and I don't remember the book. I wish I kept the
Yes.
book. I think it gave you ranges based on industry, tech
Okay.
or
Hmm.
medical or contracting, a mechanical engineer, whatever it was. And they would give you, these are sort of some ranges or whatnot. Bottom line, I just threw a number out there.
Okay. Within a range, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did have a little guidance. So the company that had just laid me off, laid the whole
Right.
workforce off, had said, if we need you, particularly the tech people, because all of the software, all the intellectual property was going to go with the business. And I knew
Right.
it inside out. And they said, we may need to call on you if the company that's buying us needs some help. Let us know what you would
Right.
charge. And I'd given them a figure like, because I didn't care. I'd given them a really big fat figure. I'm like,
Sure.
you just unemployed me, so you're going to
Right.
pay if you need me again. And so it was a big fat figure and they didn't bite. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I don't need to do that.
You know where the
I want
ceiling
this
is.
job.
You
So I'm
know
not
where
going
the
to do
ceiling
that. I'm
is.
going to come under that
Okay.
quite a bit. And it was about half of that, be honest with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So how did that? Did you feel like your prayers were answered, or did you not know your prayers had been answered?
I did not know my prayer had been answered. I did not know. I thought that was a lifeline to get me to, I really expected a big job offer. I thought
Right.
the answer to the prayer was going to be a job offer from a big time company, big time tech company.
Sure.
When I graduated from Vanderbilt with a master's degree, I, of course, being at Vanderbilt, very prestigious university, I got interviews with a lot of big companies. And anytime I have big decisions, it is a matter of prayer because I do believe that God guides us, even in our vocational pursuits. I firmly believe that. I know that to be the case. If you ask God for guidance, He will provide that. Now, I always wish that I could look up in the sky and see it written in the clouds, take the IBM
Definitely.
offer. I never saw that.
Of course.
But what I've learned, even through building the business, is when I would pray about something, then I could, it's almost intuition. And I hate to say that, but there's a lot of building a business that is intuition.
Okay.
If you prayerfully consider it, then I believe God is in that intuition. Now, there are things that I thought I knew, and I'll tell you big mistakes I made. Okay. But when you look at the long stretch, you realize that, okay, God was in that. And so I had job offers from big companies that I turned down to take a job with a startup company, small startup company in Nashville, right out of school, right out of grad school. And then 1 year into that venture, I got a call back. I had applied to IBM when I was in grad school. They had a hiring freeze at the time. And at that time, IBM was sort of the dream
Of
company to
course,
work
yeah.
for
Right.
back in those days. And so 1 year into working for this small company, which was not doing really great, as most small companies, and we
Right.
had gone through a recession. And so I was the last one hired, and I knew
First one,
I'll be the first
yeah,
one.
released.
I got a call back from IBM. We still have your resume. We are actually forming a new unit to develop this software, and flew me out to Research Triangle Park. And
Ooh.
I was like, okay, God, this is it. You did
This
it.
is God's will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
God's will. And went through the all-day interviews, and went very well. As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, they said, you got the job
Oh,
right there on the spot.
yeah,
And so I'm like, you know what? I really haven't been to this area at all. It's Raleigh, Durham,
yeah,
Chapel
sure.
Hill,
Yeah.
all right around. And I said, can I stay an extra day? Just kind of look at apartments, look at the area, figure out where I'd want to live and so forth. And they said, absolutely, yeah, we'll rearrange your flight and all that. So
Hmm.
that night, I just took my car and started driving around the city, or this city is the
Cities.
Tri-Cities
Yeah.
area, and I began to pray. It's like, okay, God, this is it. The answer I got, and a few times in my life where I feel like there's times that you think God's directing you, and you're like, okay, well, maybe it's me, maybe it's God. But there are times when okay, that's the voice of God.
Right.
And he said no.
Ooh. What?
No. It was very, very strong impression that I got. This is not for you. You were not, I had no reason at all not to accept that job. There's really no ties to Nashville other than friends that I made
Yeah.
here. My family didn't live in Nashville. They were in Tennessee, but still. But I definitely felt, I knew it was not for me. And I can't tell you why, but I prayed, God show
Hmm.
me,
Hmm.
and God showed me. So I turned that job down, and I didn't do it on the spot. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give myself time to get back to Nashville because
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
yeah,
God will change his mind.
exact. Or yes, or maybe I've just had too much pizza or something. I don't
Yeah,
know,
right,
but
right.
I did not turn them down right then. I've strung it out, and I feel bad about that, but I did string them out, thinking that God would change his mind, and I never
Hmm.
got clearance.
Okay.
And hardest thing I did up to that point was say no, I can't take the job. And I go back to the company the startup that was struggling at the time.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that God was keeping me in Nashville for a reason.
Sure.
I didn't know what that reason was because there's no finish my schooling, so there's no reason I had to stay in Nashville. But God was
Right.
keeping me here for a reason. So God wanted me to build a business in a Nashville, Tennessee that was getting ready to explode.
And only he knew that.
Only he knew that, and I didn't know that. And all he would show me is just kind of like your headlights of your car, just enough in front of you to keep going. But I couldn't see way on down the road. To be
Right.
honest, if I had, I probably would have freaked out.
All right. I think that's a good place to stop for today.
Yep.
That's a lot to chew on, but a lot of insight. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Kip.